Welcome on the couch. Finals footy is in the air and the boys are so chomping at the bit to dissect what is going to be an incredible weekend of footy. We've got 4 really, really good games. But AFL season started, final season has started, Geordie, and the AFL have rolled out all the Premiership silverware.
Well, they've rolled out you, first and foremost, and the Premiership Cup. So as we know, every year there's a Premiership ambassador. You are the Premiership ambassador this year.
Yep.
Adrian could have worn a shirt.
What do you mean? That's a nice little shirt there.
What are you trying to do? Set a fashion statement?
Well, it's lucky they've got that angle, because the other angle you can see the earring that sort of hangs out. In all seriousness, what an honour to take the Premiership Cup around.
Yeah, it is. It's a great honour, obviously. There it is, the 2025 Premiership Cup. I've been lucky, obviously, to win 3 of them, and then to be asked to be the Premiership Cup ambassador. And what is a really, really interesting year running to September, along with Kenny Fraser, who's going to present the Captain's Medal. Adam Simpson will be presenting the Jock McHale Medal as well, so Ron Barassi Medal for Ken Fraser. And your old teammate, your old captain, he's going to be presenting the Norm Smith.
What's involved? Where have you got to go? Do you know what you've got to do yet?
Well, Brownie's, I've got to be everywhere where the AFL and Brownie's mates from Toyota tell me to be. So very busy grand final week. Obviously, a lot of people want to see the Cup. The Cup goes right around the country. It's the first time that it's done it, where it's gone to every state and territory. It's kicking off tomorrow officially with a great friend of ours, Mark Rasciuto in South Australia. The Mayor of South Australia will be taking it around there. I've taken it to Tasmania already and done some promo with it, and hopefully 2028.
It'll be up at the Gold Coast at Robina in a couple of weeks.
You're in charge of the Gold Coast, I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely, I'm looking after that.
Do you have any say over the scheduling?
To fit it in around the golf games on a Wednesday or Thursday, I think it is. But no, it's a great honour. I actually didn't have a grand final ticket when I walked in with the Cup the year I did it, and just produced that as the entry ticket.
No barcode, just scanned it on the way in?
She asked for the ticket, and the lovely lady at the MCC, and I just went like that, and she said, I think that's suffice.
In you go, Mr. Brown.
In you go. No, good on you, mate.
No, very good. I'm very excited to be doing that. And obviously, 8 sides plying for that at the moment. So let's get into the Premiership window. We've got some... obviously, some machinations over the year. We've been looking at it versus the whole 18, and you can see here this is round 24, which we saw 2 weeks ago, and this is with every result from the season, and where they sit. So obviously, the Adelaide Crows finished well top of the table. They're in the Premiership window, along with Geelong, Gold Coast and Brisbane Bucks.
Yeah, there's 3 zones. So there's the green zone, which is obviously the Premiership window. Then there's above the line, and we've had one team win, or no team has won from under the line. So Fremantle are 11 points behind Brisbane in terms of defence. The last quarter against Western Bulldogs cost them. But this is a different sort of look at it. So this is top 8 v top 8. So it's basically playing against one another, which pushes a few. So Adelaide Crows not scoring
That's
quite
a dramatic
as well.
drop.
Yeah, and I think they're really solid contests and defence, but their offence against the better side seems to close down a little bit. They played some low-scoring games. So
that would have been my 3 tips coming in. But it's interesting with Geelong. We'll look at them a little bit closer. They've had some below par opposition the last few weeks, but still, that shows against the best they've been very strong.
Yeah, and Brisbane obviously still there as well, consistent. Yeah, and the Giants is the other one. Yeah. They're a side that, I mean, they've played well against the best sides and actually struggled against the lesser sides.
You take great confidence, and even Adam and Sam were saying before, it would feel like a wasted season. But one of them on Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, their season is done. And certainly for the Giants, who have had a good record, slow start again, but good record come the back end and against top 8 sides.
We're going to get through all of the games. Yeah, we're going to get through all the games, and we'll be chatting the Giants and Hawks a little bit later on. But let's start with Friday night, and the 2 most experienced final sides, Brownie, are going to go head-to-head, Geelong versus your Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, it's cracker. It's a cracking game. Prelim final replay from last year, which was an absolute doozy as well, wasn't it? Bucks were there on the panel, and Geordie was there as well, so it was just great to see. Brisbane probably sneaks up on you, because Geelong you think has an experienced side, but Brisbane, 7 finals in a row now, so they've just gradually built in experience. Yes, they've got some younger players, but even those younger guys probably getting up towards 10 or 12 finals each player. So it'll be a cracker. MCG, full house.
You've been a big supporter of obviously having to be there and play in the finals. Yeah. Does that solidify, especially the top 3 sides? Like, there's a fair gap between Collingwood and the Giants as well.
Yeah, it does, and it's why I think Adelaide and Gold Coast, I don't think they'll win it. Well, I just think, name me a team that's run the table got into a final series in their first campaign and won a grand final. It's a difficult thing to do. Now, Adelaide have got a big leg up with home finals potentially all the way through. But it does count for something, no question about that, especially at the bottom rung there. So it'll be one to watch, and obviously Adelaide Crows supporters and Gold Coast supporters will be hoping to prove me wrong.
What does it count for, Bucks?
2017, you did it.
Yeah. We did.
No, they didn't.
We'd had Premiership. We'd had finals experience 13, 14 and 15.
Right,
but Adelaide, it's been since 2017.
The core of the group. I'm talking about the core of the group. I know Tex has been to a grand final. Brodie Smith would have been there, Rory Laird and Neil Bullen. Yeah. But the core of your team, they need to experience, or history says they need to have experienced the finals before they climb all the way to the top.
You mentioned the qualifying final from last year, and this is a rematch of that game. Such an important game, obviously, for the Lions to get into the grand final last year. And it was an interesting fallout from that particular game.
Yeah, it was. Look at their numbers. That's a great matchup, isn't it? Like, their numbers are strong all the way through. And the key metrics, so I'm looking around the Premiership Cup here, but offence, defence, turnover, ball movement and territory. So the reason we put these up is because these are the key metrics for final success. So you want to be high up in those numbers, don't you, Bucks?
Well, have a look at like Geelong, a top four across the board, and Brisbane not far away on that. We've seen these as two legitimate top four teams throughout the course of the home and away. Two very differing and varied ways of getting there, though.
Well, Chris Fagan had some interesting comments off the back of last year's prelim final, of course, where the Lions were the victors on Geelong's run into September last year.
Their last game of the season against the West Coast, they were 100 points in front at half time. It was a low pressure, low contested game. Then they have a week off, and then they play Port in a final where it was a similar sort of game, low pressure, low contest game. Then they have another week off, and I just felt like it's good to have the time off, but you need the games that you play to be really hard, tough games. And maybe at the end that showed our harder preparation enabled us to run the game out.
It's an interesting take there from obviously the victorious coach last year, Geordie, and it's been pretty similar again for the Cats. And if you look there, compare the pair, the easiest and the hardest draws with the two teams versing each other on Friday night.
And I think, in honesty, when we're trying to, work out how the game will go, the two sides are trying to work out how the game will go. Brandy put up the stats before in terms of how they play, where their strengths lie, and it was when you play top four footy and you're a finalist sort of, most of the recent years, I think you look to the other external factors. Is it your draw? Is it the health of the playing list? Is it the head-to-head? I mean, Geelong haven't had the toughest draw. They've had really low-pressure games. We acknowledge that. But they can squash all those rumours on Friday night. They would take great confidence, I think, with their MCG record. So there's all these things that we are trying to put into the pie and either use as confidence boosters or sides would use them as things to look at in terms of what you can take off. The pressure, that's the one thing that worries me.
Do you think that Chris Scott would refer, or the playing group of Geelong would be aware of those comments and the potential belief that it might happen again going into this game?
Unlikely, I think, just knowing Scotty, and no one knows unless you're beyond the walls. But I think they probably would more view it. And look, Geelong would look at it and say, it is what it is. We can't do anything about the draw. However, we can use this to our advantage to manage our players. They've got the healthiest list in the competition going into finals. So you have to use that as a strength. Now, yes, you've got an experienced side. Health is your best advantage over these teams. Brisbane have been a little bit banged up, so I reckon they would more go down that cell. And I've seen Lee Matthews do it to our great teams, and I reckon Scotty might take a leaf out of that and say, hey, we are in magnificent shape.
But how real is it? I mean, 170, that's
It's
clearly
well
below AFL average.
So
how much do you look into that in terms of physically preparing for a game that we all acknowledge is different come finals?
Well, that's why Geelong knew that they had that in that last run-up, their last 5 or 6 weeks, and they were going to have to create their own pressure. It's pretty hard to do that. But 178, it's not low. It's not low. Yeah. So it's not too bad. But I think the Cats are better placed compared to that game. If we'll use it as a comparison, the changes and the differences in the teams from that
only 12 months
from
on
that game 12 months ago, I think Brisbane have got probably
absolutely
look like they've had.
So you would look more personnel than.
Well, if you look at that, look at the right there. So that's assuming that Lachie Neale and Jared Berry are back in the side. So we've already got 2 changes from round 24 to square up. So there was 8 people different if you considered Neil and Berry, but that we expect them to come back. They're big changes. No Danaher, obviously no Payne, Hipwood out for another week, Answorth's season, and there's some young players there that Brisbane have relied upon and will have to rely upon, 2, 3, maybe 4 of them. On the left-hand side, Geelong's changes look significantly better.
That's dramatic. That's dramatic.
Well, the other thing is too, the Premiership teams are built with a strong spine. So they're not necessarily the best players on grand final day, but look at that. Hipwood, Danaher, Payne, McInerney, all part of the spine. I know McInerney didn't play in the grand final, but, you know, that's a big part of your structure out of the team now for the Brisbane.
How worried are you about that?
Lions have had to handle that for quite a while, and they've found a way around it. Before I leave, I just want to go back to the Cats young players from that game 12 months ago as well. There was 5 really lightly used and played and exposed players. So you look at it, like Mullen, Humphreys, Neil and Manor were 20 games or under playing in a preliminary final. So we're talking about having that finals experience, but they were 25 points up. You know, with 10 minutes to go in the third quarter, and Brisbane went on a run. So and Holmes was sitting on the pine and wasn't a part of that last bit as well. So I think that all of those players are better placed. Dempsey as well, with another season under their belt. The only young player that the Cats are going to have that hasn't had exposure is going to be O'Sullivan. And they had 5 of them in a very similar position last year, but acquitted themselves well. So they're going to be 12 months better on.
I agree. I think they're a lot better placed, Geelong.
And the transition is the part of the game, Brownie, that Brisbane have been able to expose Geelong over the last few years.
Yeah, it's funny. It's flipped, hasn't it? Because Geelong bullied Brisbane for a long time, so they've been able to stiffen up in the midfield now. Brisbane's midfield's been able to overwhelm them, but also the ball movement. So the aggressive ball movement we've seen the Lions. They've won the last 3 games, albeit a little bit differently, but the last game in particular, round 15, down at the Cattery, it was... Yeah, the margin was, about 30 points, but
this
it seemed
was the
a lot
change,
bigger than
wasn't it?
this. It was
This
sharp.
was the first week we saw the change.
Yeah, and the quick ball movement. So you can relate to this a bit more, Geordie, probably, because Hawthorn did this really well during your prime, but they just kept the ball moving. And Geelong's defence, as we know, one of the great zoning defences, they just couldn't get set. No defence would have been able to get set under this ball movement.
I think watching this game back today, I reckon their forward setup was good as well. They played those 4 high forwards, which engage the sort of the high half backs and then the really vulnerable defenders. But you're right here. This is going to be Geelong's greatest challenge.
Yeah, and it has been their greatest challenge as well for the year. Like, if you think Geelong, they've finished second on the ladder. When it comes to this part of the game, they are the worst team against the top 8 at defending scores from D half.
And the reason you put that up there, Jack, against the top 8 in particular, is because half-back to score against usually the best team in the competition at doing that, moving the ball, has won the premiership historically the last few years. So that is a concerning stat for me. They've got to stiffen this up. The bye weekend, I think they would have spent a fair bit of time on that aspect of the game.
So I think off the back of that, you then may be hesitant to take a few risks with ball in hand. So it sort of plays great defensive stability, but certainly the other matchup, I wonder whether that round 15 clash, Geelong v Brisbane, might have taught Chris Scott and the coaching staff from Geelong a little bit of a lesson, because Harris Andrews has become a real thorn in a lot of sides come finals, and it was an absolute masterclass on Shannon Neal. A young key forward, didn't necessarily know how to play him, and he played him in front a lot, and he just got controlled, sometimes led to the ball. But Harris Andrews absolutely dominated. It took 10 marks, 11 intercept possessions, 5 marks for the game. Neal only has 1 goal, 2. In that same game, Mark Blicavs plays in defence. So he plays 70% of that game into defence. From that moment on, he's played at least 50% forward to give them a bit of height down there, to give them another option. I just wonder whether that is in preparation for a role on Harris Andrews.
So do you think that Chris Scott, and we know he's one of the great coaches in the modern era, he looks so far ahead that he's judged at round 15, he thinks Shannon Neal is not our answer to Harris Andrews. We're going to play our Swiss Army knife, Mark Blicavs, on him on Friday night. And we've seen Harris Andrews tag this year, and tagged with effect. You think of Jake Melcham, played on him at the Gabba and kicked 5 on him.
Yeah, Mark Blicavs is clearly a smart player, being able to play a variety of positions. Jeremy Cameron, they would want at the MCG further up the ground, so you need that key forward or quasi-forward to keep Harris accountable. So I think that's an obvious matchup for me. I just wonder whether they're playing it so far out.
I'd be surprised to see that. You got, like, Harris Andrews is not a runner, so you obviously want a body player. You're taking away one of your strengths in Blicavs' ability to cover the ground. against a player who pretty much is not going to move and then expect to beat him.
Yeah, I just think Neil's too young. He's too young. He's
He's
too
pretty good form the
inexperienced
last
in terms
few.
of his craft.
Pretty good form the last few weeks, though, Neil. He's
On Harris
building in
Andrews?
Not on Harris Andrews,
Different
but
player.
he's building in confidence.
You speak about the spine, though, Brownie, and how it's been decimated from last year's grand final, last year's team. If you take out Harris Andrews, there really is no spine other than Logan Morris.
That's right, yeah. Logan Morris has been outstanding, hasn't he? But he's really a flanker, isn't he? And he's a younger player. Ryan Lester's done a fantastic job on Jeremy Cameron the last few times, so you can probably include him in the spine. He'll play a critical role in him again on the weekend.
Speaking of Jeremy Cameron, he was in the All-Australian team. He won the Coleman medal, but I think it caught, us and probably him by surprise. I say us with the three of us here. That he was the captain. Bucks.
Don't leave me out of
Well,
this.
you're in the selection committee, so clearly you knew that he was going to be the captain. It's an interesting choice. How did you come to that equation?
How did
the group
come to it?
Come on,
look,
mate.
I spoke about it this morning on radio. I said I feel like the last bloke in the debating team who already knows they've lost. So, and then you're trying to present these arguments against. Look, the All-Australian captaincy is an honorary position. There's no leadership that needs to take place. There's no game that needs to be played. So it does give you a chance to play with it. Over the last 10 years, there has been guys that have been anointed that have had tremendous careers, and it's nearly like it has been shared around. There's no doubt about it. Not every year. The last couple of years that I've been involved, it's been down the line who we thought the best leader was.
Yeah.
Jeremy Cameron's one of the first blokes picked. Nothing here is going to satisfy you, mind you. Jeremy Cameron's one of the first blokes kicked. He kicked his 100th goal this year. 5 All-Australians. I think it was a fair acknowledgement of his
Body of work
in the game. Body of work in the game. And that's where it was coming to. I can understand Jordan Dawson's stiff and the blokes that were captains.
Harris Andrews stiff as well, but
potentially.
I actually, you know what? I think it's great reward. I think it's great reward. I wasn't in the meeting, but I've got no problems with it. I think for a grade of our game, Jeremy Cameron's a grade of our game. I know he might even captain under 12s, but
Would it mean more for a club captain be anointed the captain of the All-Australian team, or you don't reckon they actually don't worry about that?
I think there is a best captain that gets voted for the season. So
what I would say is that there's no unanimous. Well, there's very few unanimous decisions that are made in the All-Australian committee. There's a lot of robust discussion, and that was a really close vote between he and Dawson. And ultimately, that's the way it went.
Watch out for Jordan Dawson in season 2026. If he has a good season, I'm putting my money on him being the All-Australian captain. Let's move on to a game that he's going to be involved in Thursday night. This game is going to be unbelievable. Collingwood travel back to Adelaide after only being there 3 weeks ago. And this is going to be a dynamite game, isn't it?
Well, you're right. I mean, this is the snapshot. So we've seen Brisbane v Geelong, and a lot of those key areas, nothing really stood out to me. I mean, they're really strong. But the one thing that will be challenging for both sides is their ability to move the ball under high stress, high pressure, and good defences. Both defences, number 1 and 2 in the competition. So I think this game seems like it will be more of an arm wrestle than maybe the Geelong Brisbane game. That I sort of get that feel, but there is so much of this game externally that the players will need to deal with.
But that shouldn't surprise us with the ball movement, because Adelaide are the longest kicking team. And they actually go to, for what we've spoken about, their offence at times, it does get dour against the top 8, and they're prepared to go long down the line and take contests. And Collingwood will welcome that. But I mean, the biggest thing to keep an eye on in this game is the fact that Collingwood go back to the cauldron, where obviously the fallout with Isaac Rankin was extreme. There will be feeling in the crowd. There's no doubt about that. I've been involved in a qualifying final at Adelaide in 2002 when Collingwood finished 4th and Port Adelaide were 1st. I wasn't playing. I went over there and sat in the crowd, and it was as fever pitch as I can remember.
Police escort for you?
Pretty much. Yeah. There was a fair bit of...
Even though you're a Port Adelaide legend.
There were a few barbs shed. Yeah, well, don't worry. There was only one...
Didn't you wear your McGarry medal? Or your
there was no teal there,
medal?
but yeah, that's exactly what Collingwood will be going across to. And there'll be a Collingwood army that will go across. It will be, I think you mentioned it the other week. It's going to be at fever pitch.
Do you play on that as a coach? Do you ride that wave and try and sew your boys up if you're the opposition? Or is it a reminder, hey boys, let's just not get over the top here, because the emotions can get the better players in a theatre like this. We don't often see it.
Well, your old coach used to use the word "saul" all the time. Saul the ruckman in.
That's where I get it from.
But I don't. There's not a lot of sooling that needs to take place. The players are going to be up and about. Invariably, I think you're more likely to go over the top than you are to finding the right level.
Is that the worry for Adelaide? Because you think about there's obviously everything that's happened and transpired over the last 3 weeks with the Isaac Rankin and how that's been publicly played out. They haven't played finals since 2017. It's Tex Walker's 300th. Is that the glaring worry for Matthew Nicks, is that they get over the top and absolutely capitulate?
I think they've handled the big games towards the end of the year. They handled Hawthorn. I think they handled Collingwood in a really tight game. I think that will have schooled them and prepared them really well for what they're going to face. That doesn't mean that they're going to get the job done. I can't see Adelaide not performing. I think they will perform well. They're the highest percentage of possessions in a contested manner across the competition. As I said, they go long a lot. They've got a great intercepting defence. I think can hold up. Shown they can hold up against 71 inside 50s against Collingwood. I don't think
they run well, transition well.
Yeah, they're not going to not show up. So I just see that becoming a cracking battle as a result.
What's the advice you give to the first timers? Because I actually do worry about that, because I think about the emotional build up in a two-team town, and you're the only team left, and everything that's coming at you is that they could come out and absolutely flop.
So you reckon they'll go over the top?
I think it's a huge worry.
Really?
Yeah. If I was Collingwood, they will be trying to bait them again. Bring them back into the game, bring them back into the trenches. Adelaide are faster than them. They've played better footy than Collingwood in the back part of the season. I see it as a real mental warfare.
How would you be as an Adelaide player, Geordie?
Well, I think you're speaking from Adelaide point of view. The role is as a leader and someone who has been in big games and finals and grand finals, is to calm the nerves of these young guys. And it's not to provide them with an excuse, but hey, we've still got next week. So come into this game relaxed, and yes, it's a chance to get into a prelim final, absolutely. But if things don't go right this week, there's next week. There's that safety blanket. So don't overdo it this week in terms of over arousal. Just play the game. Understand. Just be calm and understand in your mind that there is next week. And I know a lot of people don't like to think like that, because you want to win this game and put yourself into a prelim final. But I think that provides some calm across the group. One man who was fantastic last time these two teams met, and under injury duress, was Riley Thilthorpe, and the Collingwood defence really didn't have an answer for him, especially late. You just see here, just the contested marking. Obviously, no Isaac Rankin, probably another one of their talisman that won't be playing this week, but this man here is probably the most important player on the ground for Adelaide.
Well, this is why Adelaide go long down the line. You know, Thilthorpe can stand up. O'Brien, looks dangerous all the time. Fogarty and Walker not as much in those contested marking situations. Jordan Dawson flies across the front of pack, so they're prepared to use their attributes as best they can. But in that instance, you're missing out on Rankin, but Thilthorpe has been huge, and not just as a key forward, but going into the second run.
Do you have Isaac Rankin in the rooms pre-game?
I'm not sure I even have him there.
Yeah,
no, I think it's a great challenge for him, especially I'm thinking of him to become a sideshow. There'll be a lot of attention on him, whether it be a distraction.
They haven't nipped it in the bud yet because he hasn't spoken publicly. Do they do that before Thursday?
I think internally, if they think that it's right, I mean, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't address it. I wouldn't have him in and around the group on a sort of the week of a final. But they'll understand the players and what they need. And
see, it's too late. It's too late for the public-facing element of it. We're like 72 hours away from the game. So if you've had like a couple of weeks to be able to deal with it and you haven't, so that won't happen. But if he's in, like being sent away, I think was about him finding out his own comfort in some shape or form, getting away from the focus of it. It's an element of running away, which only comes back to bite you eventually. But I think it's a little bit about giving Adelaide players the chance to prepare without the focus around. Yeah. But if he's in the rooms, it's just going to be you're in the safe zone. The fact that there's cameras and that there's a broadcast going out, that's one thing. But if I'm Isaac Rankin or if I'm someone from Adelaide, I want to pull him in and involve him as much as possible if he can handle it.
Yeah. Plenty to play out on Thursday night and plenty to play out in the injury front as well. And we turn our attention to Collingwood, and John Ralph has the latest on a couple of speedy pies.
Hello, Jack. Yes, Bo McCreery's still a long way from improving his fitness off that bone issue, foot issue of a couple of weeks ago in round 24 when he was stomped on. So my understanding is that his bone bruising, it's not a cracked foot, but certainly he did very little at training on Sunday. He will need to prove his fitness tomorrow for that Adelaide clash. He could have been in a moon boot for the last couple of days, but he wasn't interested in that. So tomorrow tells the tale. Bobby Hill will not play this week. He's still some way from senior football, even though he has been sparkling at training in the last 10 days. So there has been some progress. Some senior Indigenous figures across the AFL have been speaking to him recently. They've reported that there's some encouraging signs. His partner and kids have returned home from a short stay in Perth. And so certainly all of those things are positive. But let's face it, he's only banked a couple of sessions in a row. He would probably need another couple of weeks of full training before the fitness staff tell Craig McRae he's ready to go. But again, if McCreery's not ready there, you can see the temptation to play him quick smart. Guys, how would you handle this if you're Craig McRae? Are you saying he's not ready to go, but I'll ask my senior leaders, guys, do you want him in this team? You've all navigated these kind of pitfalls. What's your approach to Bobby Hill?
I don't think he deserves to play, is my opinion. I think everyone that commits themselves wholeheartedly week in, week out, every minute of the day to become a player in a final series, I think they deserve the spot over a star player coming in who has been ill-disciplined throughout the season. So I think they've got a really big decision to make. What message does that send the group to bring in a play? Does it seem desperate? And do you reward players who haven't adhered by the culture that you're trying to set inside the club?
I think the narrative's really easy to read through. I think they're trying to present one thing out here, and the players internally would know exactly what's going on. And that's all. They're the only people that need to know. Because he just hasn't done enough work.
That will be a watch come Wednesday, as well as McCreery. And the Melbourne coaching job, Ralphie, that's starting to heat up with the second round of interviews.
Yeah, that's right. Put the earmuffs on Nathan Buckley. Now, Nathan will be part of the group of 6 who will progress through to those formal interviews. Now, some of them will take place this week, some of them next week, given that some of those applicants are in finals over the next couple of days. So it's Nathan as the senior candidate, and then the likes of Hayden Skipworth, James Kelly, King and Lade. Those latter 3, of course, will be early next week. Look, there's a chance that one of those candidates still might pull out. I think one of them at least is thinking, am I a realistic chance to try and win this job? All I would say is that Melbourne is absolutely insistent. We wouldn't have put this quality panel together if it was going to be a boat race, and certainly there is no preordained outcome there. Now, they've looked at the stats. 20 of the last 21 Premiership coaches have been first-time coaches this century. They've also looked at the 25 or more first-timers, though, who, let's face it, have sunk without a trace. So it is a philosophical discussion there. So Buckley's former right-hand man in Brenton Sanderson will not be part of his coaching panel if he wins the job. But I spoke to him today. He said he'd be vastly better on the list management stuff. Of course, remember the fire sale of late 2020. Nathan was gone soon after that. And he'd be much better at the relationship stuff, which he said vastly improved across his time at Collingwood. Now, we can't ask Nathan about those kind of things necessarily, but Jordan, the philosophical stuff, you were on that Essendon panel which appointed Brad Scott. There have been some second-timers that are not flying right now. What's your view on that first versus experience discussion?
I'm not hard either way, is my personal opinion. I think there's so much more that goes into it, whether it be... I think the thing that I found when I sat on that particular coaching panel is it was interesting to see where the candidate thought the club was at and how true that rang to us as a panelist. And you know, that will be weighed up. What type of coach they are, I think, is important, and what the club needs. So there's a few more things, whether it be a tried coach or a first-time coach. It may well be a first-time coach if they present well, they understand where the club's at, and they think they can unlock the potential.
So, Bucks, does this confirm that you are keen on the Melbourne job? Because we've had a conversation about you sort of... It was as much you asking questions about them and them asking questions about you. This is a smaller group now of candidates. Are you keen on coaching Melbourne in 2026 and beyond?
Yeah, I'm still going through my process, which I can speak to. But, take Melbourne on face value on who they're interviewing, of which I'm a part of that group. So... They'll do their due diligence as I will. So we're still in the mix. No change, status quo from last week.
How do you feel, though, as approaching this now the second time round? You must feel more emboldened. I know you probably didn't go through a full interview process because you're an assistant coach at Collingwood, but I just want to get your perspective on what it feels, the difference that it feels like going in as an experienced coach.
Yeah, it is very different. You're looking at different things. So I've got no doubt that the other 4 boys that have been involved in, that were listed there as assistant coaches and haven't sat in the chair, they might be looking at slightly different elements of the Melbourne challenge. And I'm supposing that because I know that I've never been through a process like this before either. The succession plan at Collingwood was, point me in the right direction. I'm up for this. Let's get it done. I'm sitting back and prosecuting this a little bit more on different levels for myself and for whether I think it's a fit with Melbourne. So it is very different.
There's
probably more particular, and probably definitely more conscious on what can and cannot work and not getting caught. I'm just thinking it's not X's and O's.
Yeah.
Like the game plan stuff is totally irrelevant.
Oh, we look forward to asking you next week how the meeting went. But next week might not be for a few sides, Bucks, because elimination finals mean it's win or go home. It starts on a big Super Saturday, all live here on Fox. And that man there, Toby Green, he'll be looking forward to hopefully pulling his side over a side that we think will be a big contender in September. Both coaches on the AFL 360, and this one here from the West, of course, the AFL's Nepo baby, according to Ross Lyon. Well, they play finals for the first time this side here. Well, they were fantastic against the Dogs last week. That is going to be a huge elimination final, and we'll discuss that all next, live here on Couch.
I think every year we're gunning for finals. There's no question about that, and then we'll build and we'll build. I'm not putting a ceiling on this group. 80% of our first premiership side is sitting in this room right now. The fact of the matter is this side and this club are very capable of saluting in the not-too-distant future.
After 15 years, a moment to genuinely celebrate. All rise! The Suns are playing finals footy.
To have Dimmer walk in and tell us that you guys are good enough and you guys can make it, I think that belief went a long way.
We closed a chapter on one season, now another one starts, as we know. Any chance I can have a beer now? Can I go and get a bolter?
I think you did have a few celebratory beers after that. And finally, all 18 teams will be playing finals or have played finals in their existence, with the Gold Coast Suns playing their first final against Fremantle over in the West on Saturday night. It's going to be a fantastic game, the elimination final. And if you take a look at the snapshot here, the stats actually paint a pretty good picture for the Gold Coast Brownie.
Yeah, pretty even. Yeah, look, this game's relatively even. Obviously it was a neutral venue, but it is over in Perth, the challenge of that. But they've been good on the road. It is a big trip for the Gold Coast Suns. But Fremantle's been in red-hot form the last 2 months of footy, apart from that Brisbane loss. But Brisbane's done that to quite a few teams. So, yeah, you just never know. I think probably a bit like what we spoke about with Adelaide, just Fremantle just handling the expectation and the pressure of playing in front of the big home crowd. You feel like the Suns just playing with house money a little bit.
Geordie, how important is it for the Gold Coast Suns in their first ever final that Noah Anderson and Matt Rowell, they're all Australians, fire?
Oh, it's hugely important, and I think
is it win or bust for these two?
Well, we might have done it last week. I think the over-reliance I think on those two boys, and if you look at the weather, which is usually relatively accurate, it's going to be a sort of a wet night, so those two players become really important. I mean, they are the driving force in that midfield, along with Tuke Miller and a few others that roll through there. But they've had fantastic seasons, really good seasons, and I just wonder whether Fremantle have someone, and they have someone for them.
Yeah, so
for one.
Tom Green went to Rowell, and we've seen Finn Callaghan tag as well when they played the Giants. The Dockers don't have an out-and-out tagger. They've got obviously star midfielders. Who is it?
What about Nat Fyfe?
Potentially.
I know he's been sub, and
he hasn't played a lot of footy.
The question would be, but typically they choose a sub to say, hey, if he comes on in the first 5 minutes, he needs to be able to run out the game. I just can't see anyone else.
He might help in and around the clearance. He's not going to help you in transition.
No, in a lockdown role against a Rowell.
We've seen Rowell against the best clearance players in the competition. Now I agree with you. There needs to be some body pushed up against him, but Rowell will go and win that contest and then run away from you. So he's been doing that against. Yeah. It's not just about one person. It's against the opposition midfield. So I think Freo will back themselves to be able to go and win enough ball. Yeah, Sarong, Brayshaw, Young.
Does that worry you on the outside? No.
Against the Suns.
Yeah.
Well, those numbers there suggest that the Suns will go across. They'll be underdogs.
Yeah.
Big underdogs. But
I wouldn't say those. I still reckon they're a huge chance. Fremantle failed against Brisbane 2 weeks ago. That would be looming on their head, surely.
Yeah, potentially. But Fremantle have faced a sudden death. You just spoke about having a qualifying final. It is a different feeling when you know there's no tomorrow if you don't win.
Which plays a key role for that midfield. So
That'd be huge.
Against Jackson and Darcy, that's a huge challenge. Yeah.
How much work do we put into Murphy Reid if you're Damien Hardwick?
I think the players are aware of him.
First-year player.
Yeah, I know. And
tag him or?
His season has been outstanding. I don't think you can tag him, but you'll have to be aware of him. When the game changed the year before, those numbers are off the charts, and quite deservedly, he's been spoken about this year numerous times. He was a part of the change 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not short on those type of players, though, Bodie Ewan and Will Powell, as matchups potentially for Murphy Reid.
That's going to be a fascinating watch live here on Fox on Saturday. And the other game on Saturday, early on, Brownie, is the Hawks and the Giants. And you think these are two sides that... I mean, I could see both these sides winning it. And one of them, come Saturday afternoon, will be going home after winning 16 games and will have basically a season for nothing.
Can't wait to get up there and watch this game. It's going to be an absolute doozy. It could be a shootout, but they're both pretty tough teams on the inside as well. So looking forward to it. The Giants' ball movement has been outstanding against the best teams. So you look at that, and then we know this is a key facet to winning finals. Intercept to score, half-back to score, 1-1, score per inside 50, number 2. So, geez, they're really compelling numbers, aren't they? And they've got that game to go. Obviously, Ash and Whitfield and Callahan, especially with the way they move the ball. And their forward line's really dangerous. Hopefully, for their sake, which way is it around? Jake Stringer and Jesse Hogan. Yep. They're obviously potent, but that's a good part of their game.
Bucks, do you play 4 keys if you're Hawthorn, with obviously seeing the damage that the Giants can do from the back line? Do you persist with the 4 keys that we've seen over the last month?
No, you don't play 4 keys, but you play Gunston, Lewis, Chol and Deer, because they're not. Gunston's not a key.
Yeah.
He plays like a deepest forward, and he's a leading player, and he can be a damaging matchup who can play on an opposition intercept marker. But the Giants have got a back 6 that can hold up. They've had to, the way that they play the Giants, they withdraw, and they're happy to make the ground long for that springboard, the scoring that you've just seen, which means at times they're giving up massive inside 50s against, which we've spoken about, but they do hold up. So the challenge...
The Dogs got them a couple of times. The Dogs with a taller forward line got that defence.
58 inside 50s and the Dogs smashed them. So, the Giants have been marginally better. They've only given up an average of 49 insides their last 5 weeks. So we have seen them tighten up a little bit in that. They've probably played their best footy, and some individuals have shown that as well.
Is there a number when there's too many in terms of selection? That's the other key question.
There's 5 up for grabs.
There's 5 up for grabs. They're big names: Daniels, Hogan, Canillo, Kelly and Stringer. Is there a number that's too many as a coach when you sit at the selection table?
Maybe, but then the Dogs way back when the first year that there was the bye, they changed 5. And if they hadn't have had that week, they wouldn't have had 5. But then they went and end up going the whole way. Right. Well, Brisbane might be in a not dissimilar position, but yes, there is, because you've only got 1 sub, so you can't afford to take any more than 1 soft tissue risk, and soft tissue becomes the real issue. Because if you end up playing with 21 players, only 3 on the pine, or even worse, 2 on the pine in a final, it's pretty hard.
An elimination final.
It's pretty hard to cover in a home and away match. But the intensity that this game's going to be played at,
you'd imagine it's all
you need to be right.
The work that they've been able to do. So the type of injury comes in. You can see. I think the other question mark's Josh Weddle. Do you play Weddle on one game?
100% you do.
You do?
Yeah, and I think Sam Mitchell... I think he gives them... it's only 1 change. He gives them a point of difference. He can play ruck. I think he's fantastic. I probably would drop one of the keys.
4 keys.
But that's the thing. We had that discussion before. It's hard. It's okay to say you're bringing someone in, but try and take someone out.
Yeah, I think it's out of Lewis,
he's not going to
Lewis, Deer or Chol.
Playing forward.
Well, you can still field the 3 there, but certainly I would be playing.
So is he in the 22 or is he the 23rd?
I think Sam Mitchell alluded on AFL 360 that he's fit and firing, and they saw enough in a VFL game that they'll play him for the whole game.
Fascinating. Hawthorn in Giants' short history, 0-8. Hawthorn and Benji. 0-8.
That's very...
It's time to get that monkey off the back.
That's very,
You've got to be
very
careful at
ugly.
ground level. The Giants can cut you apart with their speed, especially if Daniel's up and going. Bedford, Darcy Jones, a few of those boys, Harvey Thomas. So that's something Sam Mitchell's got to consider about how many big boys he plays.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be win or go home for both games on Saturday. We're going to take a quick break, and after that, though, we're going to get into the good, the bad and the ugly. Welcome back to On the Couch. We're going to pick through the good, the bad and the ugly, and we're going to go through the 10 teams that are sitting at home on the couch and their seasons from 2025. And I'm going to start with the good and head to my old mob, the Tigers. They're very, very good young key forwards, Brownie. 3 potential additions to the key forward mafia there. You can see Tom Sims, who was fantastic this year. All first-round draft picks. This one here, Harry Armstrong. We like Harry as well. And finally, Jonty Fall, who played the most footy out of all of the 3 here. You'd think if 2 of them could hit, that's a very, very good draft selection from the Richmond Football Club.
Like
Looking forward to seeing how they go in season 2020.
Absolutely. A bit of nepotism there by you, Jack. Very unprofessional. Very unprofessional. Harvey Langford, he had an absolutely sensational first year. So we saw him early in the season. I commentated him and just looked and I thought, geez, this kid's going to be something, along with a few of the other younger players coming in through. Highest rated season for a first-year player on record.
Wow.
We've seen some great first years over the journey, including the last few years. Nick Dacos comes to mind. He's rated higher than Dacos' first year. So, bright future. So, whoever's got that coaching gig, going to be excited getting your hands on those toys.
I've got the Dogs, and I thought, very disappointing way to finish the year, and probably question marks on some of their bottom 5 or 6, but what there's not question marks on is their very best. And to have, they're the top 3 rated players in the competition.
Amazing.
So to finish 1, 2, 3 in that regard was pretty exceptional. 3 really good years, 2 All-Australian team and a squad member as well.
I've gone St Kilda and mainly their off-field aggression in terms of acquiring players and having those conversations, those continued conversations throughout the year to try and bolster their list. So we all know the Wanganeen Miller story that unfolded. So that was a key signing that they needed to make. Tom de Koning is on his way, and there's strong reports that Jack Silvani and Lee Lear. So good seasoned players to really help that young group push their way up the ladder. And I'll go straight onto my bad. It's the Carlton Football Club and just their inability in this off-season to keep their star players. And on the back of that, de Koning, Curnow, we understand, has got desires to leave the club. Silvani will leave the club as well, and we've heard today that Elijah Hollands will seek greener pastures. So those players, I would imagine, are key, not only on-field players but certainly off-field. So that's a sign of the culture maybe at that football club.
My bad. Well, I'm going to look at the Swans key forwards here, and they are in the market potentially for Charlie Curnow, a man you've just spoken about, Geordie, and they just need some better output from someone in a key post. You see there the 3 potentials heading into 2025, Hayden McLean, Joel Amati and Logan McDonald. Logan McDonald injured for the whole year. I think he's probably going to end up being a centre-half back, but they need more from a key forward, and they've been very good at getting one when they want one, Brent.
Absolutely.
So watch this space.
Long history of that. Yeah, no doubt about it. My bad is Kenny's farewell tour. The only thing that saved this from being an ugly was their performance in the last game last week. They won by 4 points. And the class that Kenny Hinkley's shown all throughout the year, the way he's been able to carry himself, including this, the old lolly teeth. That's a winner always. But a great way to send off a great man who did a fantastic job, but I think it was pretty poorly handled. Yeah,
well, I'm on to the ugly, and my ugly is the Essendon Football Club, and their season's riddled by injury, 15 debutants, which is a little small bright spark, and maybe they can find one there. But to cap it off, there's talks of Sam Draper leaving the club. Hasn't been officially endorsed by the Essendon Football Club yet, but there's reports. Jordan Ridley, there's reports that he wants to leave and go to Brisbane. And the noise around Zach Merritt just does not go away. Certainly, that is could be very ugly for Essendon.
Now, we love player movement. Certainly gets us talking, but I thought my ugly was the West Coast handling of the Oscar Allen situation, and Oscar's got a part to play there as well. With the Mitchell catch-up, that was all too public. He's the captain of the footy club. Need to be a bit more discreet with that. Then rolling him out like a young fella in front of the cameras. I just think it was pretty poorly handled all throughout. So if they had their time again, I think they'd love to rerun that, I reckon.
No one wants to spend too much time on ugly, so this one's short and sharp. North Melbourne's defence hasn't improved. The last 3 years, if you look at the numbers, are just not good enough. They haven't been able to find that the green shoots to be able to build from or to be able to leverage off. And if you can't get your defence right, it's very hard to get your offence right. They haven't been as consistent as they would have liked.
Ugly continues the same theme with the Dogs, number one scoring side in the competition, just can't defend, especially against good teams. So that would be a spot on their list. They'll try and acquire players. There's been a few names floated around to try and strengthen that so far, but that is not good enough. And to support those highly rated players that Buck spoke about, that needs to significantly improve.
Plenty to work on for the 10 teams that didn't play finals this year. And speaking of finals is live here on Fox with the best callers of the game. It starts Thursday night.
Turn up the volume.
This September, like any before it, will be defined by moments. But this isn't like any September.
The battle is willing.
For the very first time, our callers coming to you in the month that matters most.
Big build up. They're trying to gang up here.
How's the drop steps?
And how's the confidence? And listen to the fans.
Beautiful step, great snap.
What a game of footy this is.
Celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should.
Welcome back to On the Couch. We're going to sing the praises of some men in September that aren't the high-profile players but could have a very big addition to their team's success come the weekend. And, Brownie, you're going to kick us off.
Yeah, I think it's Bo McCreary if he gets up. So it's important for Collingwood. He's the life and energy of that team. He puts on a tremendous amount of forward pressure with his speed. He's built for finals footy. He's had an interrupted last 8 weeks of footy, no question about it. He got back into some form the last fortnight before that foot injury. So let's hope for Collingwood's sake he's out there on Thursday night.
Certainly going to have a big impact on the speed side of things come Thursday night.
Yeah.
For me, my left field one's Luke Ryan for the Dockers. I just think, plays with a lot of experience, intercept player. So along with Cox and Pearce, Chapman and Banfield and Clark, I think they're a back 6 or 7 that can hold up. And I think Liam Ryan is professional about not giving free kicks away, but moving his player out of that position. So I think he's got the wherewithal
he's
to
a
be able
ripper.
to stand up.
I still remember when Dicko forgot his name in a post-game interview. Called him Rhino. All the best, Rhino.
You certainly didn't help him. I've gone Jack Martin for Geelong. I just think he can be that sneaky sort of player. He's only played a couple of finals, Jack Martin, 2 goals in each of those finals, but that's per 100 minutes. He has been a sub a couple of times this year, so his impact on games is profound when he's out there. So he could just be that sneaky diamond up forward that provides a bit of a spark for him.
I've got a sneaky diamond up forward as well. Kai Lohmann for the Brisbane Lions. And I think a lot's been made of Joe Danaher and Eric Hipwood as well. But this man, when he comes in and he's fully fit, Brownie, I believe he is their absolute talisman. This is last year when they were facing a 40-point deficit against the Giants. Came back and won. He was fantastic in that big final against Geelong. And then come grand final day, he was absolutely into his own there.
He was good round 15 against Geelong.
He was very good as well.
He's going to be important in the aerial contest against Geelong's tall defenders.
He is going to be very important. I tell you, man, who's very important on the couch, that will be Lee Matthews. And don't forget, you can catch all the footy on Fox this weekend. We'll see you next week when only 6 teams are there on the couch.